Have you been wondering how OTF boss Lil Durk is doing in prison since his arrest in Broward County Jail? Fans have been wondering if the rapper is gangbanging, staying quiet, or causing trouble behind bars. Interestingly, Lil Durk's cellmate has spoken out about the rapper's behavior in jail, and in this video, I'll show you some of his unexpected prison behaviors. According to jail records, 32-year-old rapper Lil Durk, whose real name is Dirk Banks, was booked into the Broward County Jail pending charges of murder for hire. This happened after the U.S. District Attorney in Los Angeles filed an indictment against the rapper and 5 other members of Only the Family, accusing them of conspiring to commit murder for hire using a firearm and causing death. It appears that the rapper, who previously traveled by private jet, is now confined to the 4 corner walls of the prison. Interesting times are ahead because it seems like Lil Durk doesn't mind prison at all. He seems to be coping like an OG, and rumors have it that he is getting along well with the staff at FDC Miami aside from the food. According to TMZ, an insider said that Durk is absolutely charming and has accepted life in prison. The source told TMZ that the Grammy-winning rapper is in excellent spirits despite his difficulties, well as his fellow inmates inside TMZ, but like everyone else who has served time in prison, the rapper despises the food despite getting along with everyone else. This seems to be a common complaint among inmates, especially since the food there is the exact opposite of the opulent breakfast one is used to outside. An anonymous former prisoner shared his experience with prison food on Quora, stating, "I was sentenced to 2 years on Rikers Island and served 18 months. The food there is terrible, but breakfast begins around 5 a.m. and you learn to deal with it. I thought it was strange that they don't serve eggs for breakfast but do serve egg salad for lunch because the food is served by inmates. Sometimes, if you are a member of a gang or in a particular clique, you will receive extra treats like an extra chicken breast or skim milk for those who don't have a medical card. Breakfast is optional and they serve bread, enormous amounts of jelly and milk, and occasionally they give you a muffin as well." He once expressed his opinion about prison food, saying that it is the complete opposite of what my mother makes. It has no smell and tastes bland, but one thing is certain: when I do leave, I won't be getting beans. Sometimes we are given beans for breakfast and dinner, but they are dry and occasionally hard. I prefer beans to rocks for breakfast and dinner. The eggs are always cold, and you should be cautious because there may be a piece of eggshell lying around. Fresh bread doesn't make its way. The bread isn't soft, but it's not hard, and occasionally the end piece is on the tray as an extra. In addition to the food, Lil Durk has displayed mild-mannered behavior among the inmates at Broward County Jail. It's interesting to note that the jail is well known for housing some of America's most infamous criminals. If you're unaware, Melly has been incarcerated there for the past 5 years, and despite his tough exterior, he doesn't seem to be enjoying himself. Melly is currently housed in the main jail, which is located on the 8th floor of the Broward County Jail. He used to be in Gen P, but they switched him to PC. My bunkie was in the dorm with him while he was in G-Poop, but he's in PC now. According to an ex-inmate who recently got out of jail, he still remembers the layout and operations of the prison. Broward has 4 jails, 3 of which are in Pompano, and the main jail is in Fort Lauderdale. For example, YNW Melly once filed a lawsuit alleging cruel treatment in jail. It was reported that Melly accused the Broward Sheriff's Office of cruel treatment behind bars and asked the Florida judge for his immediate release from prison. They're treating him really badly, denying him access to his phone and not turning on his TV. It's not a good time because of his status. Let's assume that Lil Durk is also housed in the main jail or probably moved to a PC. No matter who you think you are on the outside, you have to behave yourself in jail because, let's face it, prison is a really crazy place where your dreams, hopes, and career can be destroyed in the blink of an eye. This is especially true in a horrible facility like Broward County Jail, where the majority of the inmates are reportedly suffering from mental health disorders. In a post asking for 40 facts about Broward County Jail, an ex-inmate commented, "Filthy, horrible jail, and so are the deputies that work there. It's a shame how they treat and talk to the inmates, speaking from experience, so don't judge me. No matter what someone has done, they are still human and should be treated with respect. Tony needs to clean up this hellhole." Another user agreed with him, saying that it's jail, not the Hilton. "I went through there and thought it was exactly what I expected it to be. I'm hypoglycemic. When I was released, I thought it was exactly as I had anticipated." Another user points to evidence that Broward County Jail is a horrible place, stating that they hold you for many hours after your release before releasing you at 3 in the morning. "A deputy was kind enough to fetch me a Mountain Dew so I wouldn't feel ill, and I didn't even ask him. Thank you, sir." Interestingly, this user seems to end the conversation by reminding everyone that they can avoid going to jail. He said, "Hey, the solution is don't do the crime and you won't pay the time. That's the solution. When you start coddling the criminals, that's when they don't mind going to jail." It's crazy. Prison is really crazy, and even crazier that rappers often end up there. How do you even get there? You are a rapper, so you probably have the money and attention you need. Prison is where you lose. The news that rapper Lil Durk, whose real name is Dirk Banks, was arrested and charged with a federal murder-for-hire plot related to the death of Lil Poob, Quando Rondo's cousin, shocked the industry. I know you're starting to make connections, but wait a minute while I explain. Lil Durk's arrest follows the indictment of 5 people by federal prosecutors in California who were thought to be part of Lil Durk's only criminal conspiracy. Federal agents recently swooped in, arresting 5 men in connection with the tragic shooting that occurred in Los Angeles in August 2022. The incident claimed the life of Quando Rondo's cousin and has since been under intense investigation by federal authorities. According to the charges, these men, allegedly affiliated with the OTF crew, were accused of planning to cross state lines in order to execute an attack targeting Quando Rondo's inner circle. What makes this case particularly chilling is that it took place in broad daylight, a murder carried out in the heart of the city of Chicago, adding another layer of complexity to this already high-profile case. These 5 men were not in custody before, but now their arrests signal a significant development in the investigation. The men in question are facing serious charges, including conspiracy to commit murder for hire, with authorities believing this act was in retaliation for the death of King Von, a rapper and close associate of Lil Durk. This particular case has raised questions about the deeper connections between the various figures in the rap scene, as it appears to be part of an ongoing feud stemming from tragic events that occurred in 2020. In that year, King Von, who was Lil Durk's best friend and a member of the OTF Only the Family Collective, was tragically killed outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta. The shooting death of King Von has been a pivotal point in the ongoing tensions, and it now seems that the federal authorities are drawing a direct line from that event to the violence that transpired 2 years later in Los Angeles. One key figure under suspicion in this case is OTF Jam, an individual who was a close affiliate of Lil Durk within the OTF circle. Authorities have focused on Jam due to his strong ties to Durk, believing that the information gathered from Jam's wiretaps may provide crucial evidence linking the OTF crew to the murder-for-hire plot. It appears the federal agents have pieced together a significant amount of evidence from Jam's communications, which has led them to investigate Lil Durk himself. As the leader of the OTF crew, Lil Durk stands at the center of these accusations, and the feds may have found the necessary information to implicate him in orchestrating the retaliation attack. This marks a dramatic turn in the investigation and could be one of the most challenging moments in Lil Durk's career. The evidence gathered from wiretaps and the various investigative efforts has painted a picture of an alleged conspiracy, with Durk potentially involved in directing a hit as part of a larger retaliatory campaign. The case surrounding the murder of Quando Rondo's cousin, known as Lil P, is unfolding as a critical chapter in the larger narrative of gang-related violence and the tensions that have plagued the rap industry. Many of these events are rooted in the tragic death of King Von and the ongoing animosity that has lingered since then. As expected, the news of Lil Durk's arrest broke quickly, with media outlets including DJ Academics being among the first to report on the developments. DJ Academics shared a video and a tweet informing the industry that Lil Durk had been taken into custody by U.S. Marshals. He was detained at the Broward County Correctional Facility in Florida, where he remains until his extradition to California to face federal charges. These charges stem from his alleged involvement in the conspiracy to commit murder for hire, specifically in relation to the death of Lil P, Quando Rondo's cousin. The arrest of Lil Durk marks a significant turning point, not just for him personally, but for the OTF collective and the broader hip-hop community. The federal charges of conspiracy to commit murder for hire could have far-reaching consequences, potentially impacting Durk's career, reputation, and freedom. If the authorities are able to successfully tie him to the plot, this case could lead to a major legal battle, one that may change the trajectory of his career and bring new scrutiny to the relationship between music, violence, and criminal activity. The details of this investigation continue to unfold, but it is clear that the consequences of these events are just beginning to be understood. Lil Durk was reportedly arrested by U.S. Marshals on Thursday and is currently being held at the Broward County Correctional Facility in Florida. According to police records, the 32-year-old rapper is being held without the possibility of bail while he awaits extradition to California to face federal charges. His mugshot has been made public. He founded the label Only the Family OTF in 2010 and asserts that OTF is not a gang after federal charges were brought against 5 OTF-affiliated men on October 17th. Although Durk was not named as a defendant in the October 17 suit, his arrest by federal agents has been confirmed to be connected to the murder for a higher charge. The indictment charged 5 people for the murder of Taketh, but it goes deeper than that. The men named in the suit are Keon London Grant, DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, and Keith Jones, David Brian Lindsay, and Asa Houston. They allege that they attempted to kill Rondo in 2022 for his alleged involvement in the 2020 shooting death of rapper King Von. The indictment reveals a well-coordinated plan involving alleged OTF affiliates who allegedly placed a bounty on Quando Rando, but instead his cousin L. Poob was killed. It is alleged that OTF members used a credit card connected to the record label to purchase plane tickets, allowing them to travel from Chicago to California after learning Quando Rando's location. These events indicate that interesting times are ahead. Connect the dots. According to the complaint that was unsealed last Friday, prosecutors built their case against Lil Durk and his label, accusing only the family of being not just a music organization but also a hybrid. So, the 5 men named in the federal indictment are accused of carrying out the shooting as part of a larger scheme involving alleged OTF gang activity. The indictment suggests these men intended to retaliate against Quando Rando, whom they reportedly believe to be connected to the tragic death of rapper King Von in 2020. In the indictment, prosecutors claim that one of the criminal activities was the 2020 attempted murder of rapper Quando Rando, which was allegedly planned in retaliation for the 2020 killing of rapper King Von, Lil Durk's friend. Interestingly, both the new charges and the previous indictment claimed that the 5 men were responsible for the 2022 shooting that killed Quando Rando's cousin. Durk is referred to as Banks in the indictment. Prosecutors explicitly accused Lil Durk of ordering the 2022 shooting, claiming it was retaliation for a shooting in Atlanta in 2020 in which a Rondo associate allegedly shot and killed King Von. They also claimed that at the time of the murder, TB had a public feud with Banks originating from a murder on June 6, 2020, in which an associate of TB shot and killed an OTF rapper named Davon Von Bennett, also known as King Von Bennett, who was a close friend of both OTF and Banks. The most recent filing further claimed that Lil Durk was preparing to leave the country when Cat Williams said, "This year is the year of truth. I assumed he had just returned from the future because it seemed like only the FBI had learned that Lil Durk had booked passage on a private jet to Italy, where he was arrested just before boarding the flight." He was arrested after it was reported that, after the arrest of 5 OTF members, prosecutors received notification that Lil Durk had secured commercial flights to Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, and Switzerland, but he never boarded either. In a less shocking turn of events, the family is traveling to Rico once more. The new filing seems to implicate OTF as an organization because, according to the indictment, co-conspirator 1 would place a bounty on people that co-conspirator 1 and other OTF members wanted to kill, including TB Quando Rando. It then goes on to claim that, as part of the bounty, co-conspirators, both known and unknown, including defendant Wilson, would pay anyone who participated in the killing of TB and/or reward people with. Prosecutors claim that Durk is implicated in the indictment as co-conspirator 3 because he used a credit card linked to OTF to buy airline tickets for the co-conspirators to travel to California and kill TB. Additionally, the same credit card was used to book hotel accommodations for the assistants, and it was allegedly issued under a bank account that listed Durk's former manager as an owner. Issued to Lil Durk's father under the same account. But how did the plan go? According to the reports, it went south. The indictment confirms that defendant Jones, Lindy, and co-conspirator 2 would shoot TB multiple times, killing SR, who was a passenger in TB's vehicle. If you've been following the gist, you don't need an interpreter to tell you that SR is now LPAP. If you recall, following the attack on Quando Rando's camp, killing LPAP, there was a rumor on the street that someone had snitched on Rando's whereabouts. The big question now is who snitched, but before you start beating yourself up over that mystery, let's take a look at how the indictment described the tragic events of the day. According to the feds, the killer squad used 2 cars, one of which did not have a registered license plate, to track, stalk, and attempt to kill TB on August 18, 2022. Street is never wrong because, according to the indictment, over a number 2, 1 or more conspirators, including co-conspirator 4, discovered that TB was visiting California and staying at a hotel in Los Angeles. Prosecutors reported that the killer squad later gathered at a restaurant where they hurriedly paid for the attack and then made one final mistake at dawn. They allegedly used the same OTF-linked credit card to obtain flight tickets to Chicago. This is in addition to the fact that the indictment linked the crime to the 2020 murder. The murder of TB occurred at a gas station in Los Angeles, where the conspirators allegedly fired at least 18 rounds at TB's vehicle during the attack, several of which struck and killed LPAC. Prosecutors have reason to believe that the case has deeper roots in a long-standing conflict because of the 2020 altercation between King Von and Quavo Rondo's crew, which ended with V's tragic death in Atlanta, which fueled a wave of tension between Rondo's camp and V's OTF associates. Now, with the charges marking the latest fallout from the high-profile killing of King Van, they're connecting the dots. Continuation of the retaliation after V's death. The problem is that, while I was researching this case, I came across a user's comment that is noteworthy for its subtle observation that it's very unfortunate that all of this mess is occurring because of an ego-filled fistfight that took place in 2020. And it's even pitiful to see that all that remains of that regrettable event is a bowl of consequences that Durk might have to deal with for the rest of his life. It seems like the year is ending exactly the opposite way it began for rapper Lil Durk, who went from receiving the key to the village of Broadview to being imprisoned in the same year. This is an incredible turn of events, but who is to blame? It's easy to understand that you can't be both a rapper and a gangster at the same time. If you are both, you will soon be a rapper behind bars while your empire strays outside without you. Direction when you're going about your life thinking you got away with it, the FBI is assembling the facts that will prove to be your downfall. If found guilty, Lil Durk and the 50TF members charged in the separate indictment each face a statutory maximum sentence of life in federal prison. The feds are always watching. If you stick your hands in something dirty, then it's just a matter of time until you get caught, said Assistant Director in charge of the FBI Los Angeles Field Office, Ale Davis. One thing rappers seem to forget, especially when they have the money to do gangster stuff, is that the decisions you make today, the people you associate with, and the things you spend your time with have all the bearing on your career and your future. If the boss and 5 members of the crew were gone for life, what would be left of the crew besides the family? What if something happened and he got out on time? Will his music sell? Life on a larger scale, and this is especially true of Lil Durk's plot twist, because the OTF founder went from having a fantastic year at the start of the year to quickly being charged with a crime that could land him in prison for life if found guilty. Let me briefly recap what this month was like for Lil Durk prior to his arrest. As the mayor of the village of Broadview, it gives me great honor and pleasure to present this key, and we are honored to do so on behalf of the village of Broadview. The Grammy Award-winning rapper received several keys to the city, including the Village of Broadview and the Village of Bellwood, for his work with his Neighborhood Heroes Foundation. This prestigious honor is added to the long list of accolades that the self-proclaimed voice of the trenches has received in recent years. In a shocking turn of events, the key to the city that Durk received just a week ago was revoked after his arrest After the shocking news broke that US Marshals had arrested rapper Lil Durk in Florida on charges related to an alleged murder conspiracy, the consequences of his involvement in the case rippled through both his professional and personal life. One of the most immediate repercussions was the cancellation of his partnership with the Neighborhood Heroes Foundation, a nonprofit organization he founded to help at-risk youth in underserved communities. The local government of Broadview, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago where Lil Durk has deep ties, moved swiftly to distance itself from the rapper. Mayor Katrina Thompson announced that the village would no longer support Durk's nonprofit, severing ties with an organization that had once been seen as a beacon of hope in the community. In an even more symbolic gesture, the mayor also rescinded the honorary key to the village that had been given to Lil Durk on October 18th. This was a significant move, as honorary keys are typically awarded to individuals who are seen as role models, contributing positively to the community. However, in light of the serious federal charges against him, the mayor felt compelled to take back this gesture of recognition. While the American legal system holds that an individual is innocent until proven guilty, the mayor emphasized that the community of Broadview holds itself to higher moral and ethical standards, especially when it comes to its public figures. In a statement, she noted that while the legal process would play out, the court of public opinion in Broadview had already reached its verdict, and the consequences for Durk were unavoidable. This swift public backlash underscores the severe consequences of gang-related violence and the lifestyle associated with it. The incident involving Durk is a stark reminder of how affiliations with such organizations can lead to ruin. In the world of gang culture, loyalty is demanded, but the stakes are high. If you're fortunate, your fellow affiliates may abandon you when the heat is on, leaving you to face legal consequences alone. At worst, as the tragedy of King Von's death demonstrates, the outcome can be fatal. The sad reality of gang life is that it doesn't often leave room for redemption, and the repercussions extend far beyond the individual. The culture of violence it breeds ultimately affects entire communities, leaving a legacy of destruction and heartbreak. The arrest of Lil Durk has sparked a renewed reflection on the series of tragic events that have unfolded in recent years, particularly the senseless death of King Von, Lil Durk's close friend and fellow rapper. Many now question whether the actions that led to Von's death and the subsequent retaliation that appears to be linked to Durk were worth it. Was the fight over egos and respect really worth the life of King Von and the toll it has taken on Lil Durk's career, reputation, and possibly his freedom? This is a question that some fans and critics are now asking as they reflect on the cost of a culture that prioritizes power and respect at all costs. To understand the gravity of the situation, let's rewind to the fateful night of November 6, 2020, when King Von's life was tragically cut short. That evening, Von and his entourage at the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta, a popular spot known for its vibrant nightlife. On the same night, Quando Rondo and his crew were also present, though neither group could have anticipated the violence that would soon unfold. The atmosphere inside the lounge was tense, with both sides aware of the growing animosity between them, but things escalated quickly once the groups clashed. As the night wore on, a fight broke out between the two groups. Surveillance footage captured the pivotal moment when King Von, stepping outside the nightclub, threw the first punch, initiating a violent confrontation. The altercation quickly spiraled out of control as punches were thrown and chaos ensued. In the heat of the moment, someone from Von's group allegedly pulled out a gun and opened fire, striking Von multiple times. The violence escalated, and within minutes, King Von lay dead, a casualty of a senseless dispute. The tragic death of King Von left a lasting impact not just on his friends and family, but on the entire hip-hop community. For Lil Durk, it marked the beginning of a long, painful journey that would be filled with grief, anger, and the lingering consequences of that night. Von's death ignited a cycle of retaliation that continues to haunt Durk and others involved. This moment in time, which seems so avoidable, has forever altered the trajectory of not just Durk's career but the lives of those involved in the altercation. Today, as Lil Durk faces serious charges, the industry and fans alike are left to ponder the cost of violence and ego in the rap world. Was it worth it? And at what point do the consequences outweigh the fleeting sense of victory that violence may bring? The tragic fate of King Von looms over all of this, reminding everyone of the high price that comes with a lifestyle fueled by anger, rivalry, and unresolved conflict. Tim was arrested at the scene and charged with King Von's murder. He was later released on a $100,000 bond, a decision that infuriated V's supporters Quando Rondo, who was present during the altercation. The night was chaotic, with people running in all directions as gunfire reverberated throughout the night. Von's crew tried to rush him to safety, but the damage had already been done. King Von was critically injured and taken to a nearby hospital, but despite the efforts of medical staff, he passed away later that night. In later interviews, he strongly denied any involvement in the shooting, saying that he did not know King Von personally and had never had any problems with him. Quergo insisted that he and his crew were only defending themselves during the altercation, but the case has had an unquantifiable impact on Lil Durk's career. In addition to being in prison, he may not be able to hold his loved ones as he once did, and he may not be able to make music. According to news reports following the Chicago rapper's arrest, it appears that the feds have added 2 more felony counts against Lil Durk. In a new indictment, the rapper specifically mentioned the murder attempt of Quando Rondo, which resulted in the death of his cousin, in one of his songs that was commercialized in his crime, according to a billboard. Federal prosecutors are